If you don't put your health first and foremost, you're not a real prepper. We should be prioritizing relationships. We should be prioritizing our health. Everything should come secondary to that. I see so many preppers dying before an actual SHTF event. I'm not just talking about diet. I want people to be abundantly clear. This form of sloth and gluttony extends into every aspect of materialism and preparedness. That's going to be what kills you first. All of this prepping stuff, it's just a means to an end. It's not an end unto itself. One of the greatest exercises in preparedness is simply depriving yourself of something you want. So someday you're going to be laying in a hospital bed. You're going to be thinking about all the things that you obsessed about in your life, and you're going to realize how meaningless 99% of it was. The same goes with preparedness. One of my biggest pet peeves with preppers is the lack of attention to your physical health. Recently, an acquaintance of mine, Kim.com, he had a stroke. He's a big-time prepper. He wanted me to help him get outfitted with all the bells and whistles. He has a place in New Zealand, completely transparent about this, so nothing I'm saying right now is classified or anything like that. He is an outspoken political commentator. He's the guy who created Mega Upload. We were getting ready to put together a massive shipment for him and his family of preparedness supplies, and he had a stroke. I just can't emphasize it enough. I can't put it into words how important it is, how it's really the cornerstone of preparedness. And this is going to be a point of contention with a lot of people. But if you don't put your health first and foremost, you're not a real prepper. You're not a real survivalist. Because what's going to kill you first, whether it's in a collapse scenario or normal times, is poor health. If you're in poor health and there's no advanced medical care, you're really f***ed. If you get a stroke as a result of poor lifestyle choices, or if you have some sort of heart attack, respiratory issues, you're screwed, man. I'm not a person who believes that you gotta be an Olympic athlete or anything like that. You don't have to be a supermodel, of course. What we're talking about here is just general health and fitness. Even if not for health's sake, but for the sake of having a haul, like let's say you got to run out of a burning building, or you got to run down into a bunker, or you got to run and save somebody and put them on your shoulder. People don't want to approach this issue because it's difficult. What's going to define SHTF is deprivation. You're going to want to go on the internet. There's not going to be the internet. You're going to want to be able to go out to McDonald's or pick your fast food restaurant. It's not going to happen. And the problem with our society right now is that anything we want, we can have it right away. Everything is just in time, and usually it is subpar in terms of quality. One of the greatest exercises in preparedness is simply depriving yourself of something you want. It doesn't even have to be related to your diet. It could be anything, any bad habit in your life. You got to learn to deprive and delay gratification. When you can delay gratification, you feel better about yourself, and that boosts your self-esteem. It's like a cycle. I blimp up and then I slim down. I blimp up and I slim down. And it's always a feedback loop. Let's say I go to McDonald's one night. You do it for that little 5 seconds of rush that you get from the sugar and the taste and biting into the burger and all that stuff and the salt and all the rest. But you feel like crap afterwards, just a little bit like crap. And that kind of adds to your depression and sense of low self-worth. And then you're more likely to go and do that the next day. So the hardest part of starting on a fitness journey is like the first 72 hours. Because your body kind of has to adjust to the ketosis of it all. There's something that happens around the 3-day mark where it actually starts to feel good to deprive yourself of stuff. You feel yourself getting stronger. You just start to feel better about yourself, but it's getting through that first 72 hours. If you can just resist once, just once, when you really want to eat that candy bar, and you get that momentum, and it's so much easier the next day. But oftentimes, that's where we fail, and I've been there. I mean, I've been neglecting my health a lot. I've had something happen in our own family recently that just reminded me of the importance of what matters most. And it's not just my own physical health, but it's family, it's people in general. All of this prepping stuff, it's just a means to an end. It's not an end unto itself. And all that's going to matter at the end of the day, when you're laying in a hospital bed someday, which we all will be, hopefully, it's at a time of our choosing, in the sense that it's of natural causes and not the result of poor lifestyle choices. You're going to look back in your life. You're not going to remember the 17th gun you bought. You're not going to remember the 500th can of food. You're going to remember the experiences you had with people. So if that's the case, what should we be prioritizing as preppers? We should be prioritizing relationships. We should be prioritizing our health. I would say that the most beneficial exercise a person can do is just running, and if you can't run, do a brisk walk. Sprints are also good. There's a statistics that says that after 30, 90% of people will never sprint again. When I heard that statistic, it made perfect sense to me. There was a time when you had to run as fast as you could. So when I used to go cardiovascular jogging at night, there was a lot of rabbits where I used to live, and a rabbit would come out on the road, and I tell you, man, if you ever get the opportunity, chase a rabbit. It's like a Rocky Balboa type exercise. When you go anabolic like that, and you have to exert yourself at the highest level with your fast twitch muscle fibers, it wakes something up inside you. Do functional movements. That's what you want to do. Throw on a backpack. If you're carrying extra weight, you're burning a lot more calories. This is why I advise anybody who's struggling with weight loss, don't worry about lifting weights, because you're already massively muscular underneath all of the adipose tissue. This is why a lot of strong men are usually obese, because they're used to carrying around a lot of weight. So the only exercise you need to do is cardio, running, walking, jogging. That's it. I've been doing this long enough that I've seen my subscribers come and go. I've seen people who are frequent members of our store, I've seen them pass away. And, it just gets to me that they spend all their time stockpiling all this stuff, but in some cases, maybe they neglected the one thing that they really had to focus on, the most important thing, and that is their health and wellness. All I can say is 2 general rules. If you want to exercise, do compound functional movements. Compound movements means you're doing exercises that bring in more than one muscle group. Squats, deadlifts, bench press, chin-ups, shoulder press, abdominal workouts, and maybe lunges. You do that, you've covered your entire body. You don't need to do isolated bicep curls, shoulder, lateral raises, none of that stuff. You can, but you don't need to. And then on top of that, you do your cardiovascular stuff. You run, you walk, you do stair climber. When I used to go to the gym, people used to laugh at me because I would put on a weighted vest. I would bring one of my big Expedition backpacks. I would fill it up with books or something like that. And I would walk on the treadmill with the backpack. That's an incredible way to burn calories. You want to do what they call functional fitness. The thing I appreciate about CrossFit is that the whole objective of it is to have a style of fitness that's going to actually translate into the real world. So if I were to recommend an ideal form of SHTF preparedness fitness, general CrossFit paired with MMA, and do some strength training on top of that. What happens with any sort of fitness journey, or anything in life in general, is that there is diminishing returns, the law of diminishing returns. When you first start out, you make incredible gains for the least amount of effort. You're gonna feel on top of the world. You're probably gonna be a little narcissistic, which is fine, because you gotta use that as fuel. The reason why I say that is you're going to reach a certain point with exercise and fitness that you become just another bro at the gym. And that's when you kind of turn pro in a way, and you're not really making personal bests every other day, so you don't still have that fire in you to keep getting ahead because you're not seeing the huge gains, and you got to fight for every inch after that. I see so many preppers dying before an actual SHTF event. And how tragic is that you die because you didn't invest in the most important thing that mattered, and that was your physical health. It really is tragic that you spend all of this time preparing for these low probability events, which what they are in the grand scheme of things, and not having your own house in order. It's like the guy who prepares for Yellowstone supervolcano but doesn't have a fire extinguisher in his house. If you are not physically fit, you're not a prepper. There's something about an awareness of your physiological health that is essential for calling yourself a survivalist. And I'm not saying it's easy to learn how to butcher cows. I'm not saying it's easy to run a homestead. I'm not saying it's easy to go and do military service. None of those things are easy, but you gotta be in shape. You should be relatively lean. You wanna have some adipose tissue on you, some energy to burn in case of hard times. Now, one other thing that I've been doing lately is eating meat right in the morning. And it is very hard for protein to be converted into fat. Eat a lean meat in the morning. First thing, drink some coffee. That's gonna blunt your hunger a little bit, or some caffeine. It's gonna take energy from your body to digest that meat, especially something like beef jerky or something that doesn't have a high fat content, like a lean cut of a cow or something like that. That's actually going to kickstart your metabolism for the day. And it's gonna put you in like hunter mode. Right now, what I do is I'll eat meat in the morning. I won't eat anything during the day. And then I'll go and work out, and then I won't actually eat until about 9 at night. It's nearly, I would say, 24 hours since my last real carved up meal. Because after I work out, I eat a hell of a lot of carbs, I'm not gonna lie. Not a lot, but I eat whatever I want after that. But it's from that period of bedtime, wake up, protein, and then another like 12 hours or so, and then that's when I treat myself. It works great in terms of feeling great, in terms of performing at a high level. It's so counterintuitive because you think when you're hungry that eating is going to actually make you function better, but it doesn't. It actually slows you down because on a metabolic level, digestion takes so much energy. Like when you put that food in your body, all of those enzymes that have to break that down, that's all taking immense amounts of energy, and that's taking energy away from your brain, that's taking energy away from physical work you gotta do. But this whole 3 meals a day, it's the farthest thing from a natural eating cycle. If anything, people would probably snack throughout the day and then have one sort of feast throughout the day. That's how a tribesman would eat, or they would just eat when they felt the need to eat. But I'm not just talking about diet. I want people to be abundantly clear. This form of sloth and gluttony extends into every aspect of materialism and preparedness. And I think preppers like to kind of falsely pride themselves on not being materialistic, in the sense of, I might not have a crystal chandelier, but, I have all this other stuff. But it's the same mental disease of hoarding stuff. It's just transmuting now into something that you deem to be more socially acceptable. And oftentimes preppers get a little sanctimonious about that, where, oh, well, I'm not in this for vanity, I'm in this for survival. But you cross a point where it ceases to be about survival. I think a lot of people do just transmute their materialistic tendencies into preparedness and think that that's going to be what saves them, instead of having to do the work of going out and doing the ham radio course, doing the comprehensive firearms training, learning how to go and hunt and waiting in a tree stand for 12 hours, doing all the things that really you don't want to do, but you'll be thankful you did if and when the proverbial shit hits the fan. So I hope I gave you guys something to think about today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, where you'll find high-quality survival gear at the best prices, no junk, and no gimmicks. Use discount code PREPPINGGEAR for 10% off. Don't forget, the strong survive, but the prepared thrive. Stay safe.